All right, hello everyone. This is Gary and Evans with Exclusive Investment Group. I'm here today with my man Carlos Rodrigues from Canada. Is a very experienced investor. Is also an Amazon best-selling author. Hi, Carlos. Welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me.
Did I pronounce your last name correctly? I want to make sure we got that right.
Rodrigues? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right,
you got it right.
awesome, brother. Awesome, brother. All right, so this is how we'll get this thing started. Carlos, go ahead and tell everybody about yourself.
Well, I'm like you said, my name is Carlos Rodrigues. I've been investing now for probably about 14, 15 years. Started off just kind of I grew up in it. My dad was an investor. My grandfather was an investor when they came to Canada. And it so I grew up watching them doing what they were doing, but it was that conversation about the particulars of how real estate works and whatnot. They wouldn't really divulge. Money was never a topic that was openly discussed, right? Um, so I had to learn, from the outside looking in, as far as what they were doing, or when like my dad would buy houses and fix them up himself, so I'd tag along, and I'd be the little guy at the end of the board holding the board while my dad cuts the wood, right?
Yeah.
So I'd kind of watch and see what they did, and learned a little bit, but it wasn't until I bought my first house, which was a rent to own or lease option, I think you guys call it. um, was my very first rental property.
Where,
And
where was that property at? If you don't mind me asking.
where was that? It was in my hometown, Hamilton, Ontario.
Okay.
In one of the suburbs. It was a single family home
Okay.
that we kind of cleaned up, and my philosophy as far as the properties that I typically buy, nice homes, nice areas, right?
Okay.
And it attracts a different type of tenant. There's a misconception out there that your rental tenants are going to destroy your house or whatnot. Like, no, there's a lot to go into it. You definitely discover, um, being hands-on with different types of properties, what it's going to take to attract the right tenants. And I had the opportunity to see, when the mistakes that my dad made, my grandfather made, and whatnot, and I learned from that. um and kind of translated to what I was doing. So in the time that I've been a landlord, I think I've only ever had to evict one tenant because of that kind of watching and learning about what to do and what not to do, with real estate.
Okay. All right. So sounds like, and how many years? Remind me again. How many years would you
Oh,
say your overall experience level?
pro- I'm pushing 17 years, I think, at
Okay.
this point, if my math is correct. 15,
Awesome.
16, something like that. It's long enough that, let's put it this way: when I started, I had hair.
Oh, I got you. I got you. So well, let me ask you this. How many doors do you currently own right
Well, right now, I've kind of pushed the reset button.
now? Okay.
I sold a lot of what I had. I've bought and sold hundreds of properties, renovated. Pretty much have dabbled in most types of real estate. The commercial end is still a little bit of an unknown for me as far as outside of the residential side.
Yes.
But I've bought and sold a ton of properties. I think at one point I may have had 50 units at one point.
Hmm.
But in the last little while, sold everything, because, like I said, I wanted to hit the reset button. You
Okay.
get to a point in Canada right now; it's very difficult for a self-employed individual to continuously grow a portfolio, right? Through lending,
Okay.
acquiring capital is one thing, but it's having the leverage from different lenders, to be able to continue and grow a portfolio can become difficult. And
In Canada.
in Canada.
Okay.
I mean, as far as the market, up until earlier this year, and in February, I kind of divested of everything that, or the majority of my portfolio up here, so that I would have, capital, and kind of saw a little bit of the writing on the wall, as far as what was coming with the inflation, markets kind of ticking up quickly.
Okay.
The fact of where what that would have a result of, as far as prices of properties, valuations, things of that nature. So
Mhm.
I want to kind of maximize and get ready for any kind of major downturn. Okay. But also at that particular point in time, I was, getting ready to move into the United States as far as my investments, and
Okay.
kind of diversify, because up until a couple of years ago, it going to the United States, it was always kind of like, there's gonna be, barriers, and it's gonna be tougher, and you got to get, a lot of legal work done, and blah blah
Mhm.
blah, which at the end of the day wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And since making that kind of transition, and starting to buy properties down in the Midwest is where I'm kind of focusing right now.
Okay.
It's there's a ton of opportunity, and now kind of, it was my own fault. I mean, as far as not going to the United States first, and kind of I had the blinders on.
Hmm.
Things are really good in Canada as far as the real estate market, up until I divested of my portfolio.
Hmm.
Um, you didn't really. I mean, you could buy any property really up until a little while ago, and just holding on to it, you'd make money. You know what I
Really?
mean? We'll take for
Quite
example.
impressive.
Yes, I mean, take for example, the last, what I like to do up here is I like to buy a bungalow, and then turn it into a duplex. Put a legal suite in the basement,
Okay.
and then rent out both apartments, and increase the cash flow that way, right?
What's the rental income on a duplex in Canada?
Ooh, right now, a 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartment.
Okay.
Uh, I would say I would say it's about between 2,200 and $2,400 plus utilities. Okay. So, I mean, the difference in the dollar, there's maybe about a 30% premium on buying American dollars. So, if you want to put that in American dollars, it's just kind of subtract 30% from that. So you're still, though, pretty high, right?
Yeah.
So, and then a basement apartment, I mean, I I have friends that are getting $2,200 on a 2 bedroom apartment plus utilities. So, you know,
That's that's impressive.
yeah, I mean, to put it in perspective, the last one that I did up here, or last house that I bought and held in my portfolio, I bought in 2018,
Hmm.
and made it into a legal duplex. That was actually the last house that I, got my hands dirty and did the work myself. I'm pretty
Okay.
handy that way. But so the day that when I bought it for 380. I
Okay.
put about $60,000 worth of work into the property, to get it to legal duplex status.
Okay.
Uh, and if people are wondering, what I mean by legal duplex, I mean, for us, we have to submit drawings, get permits, and there's certain stipulations that we have to meet for an apartment to be legal. As far as fire separation, sound barriers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, Places like Cleveland don't seem to have that in the old buildings that they've got down there, and in the older stock that I'm seeing. But anyways, that's just one in particular market that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but as far as the house itself, I bought it for 380, put 60,000 into it.
Right.
The day that I finished, I was offered 625
625 for that house in Canada.
in Canada.
Okay.
So it took me about 4 months to get that work done.
Okay.
So it gives you an idea of the kind of bump in appreciation that happened right there.
Yeah.
I sold that house in February of this year.
Okay.
The deal ended up falling through, on that particular deal, which was fine.
Okay.
House was cash flowing about $800 a month. Okay,
Uh,
not bad.
not bad at all.
Not bad.
I think any. I think anything. I think anything over $500, I believe, is a win. That's just me. Maybe I'm a little conservative, but I believe.
No, that's exactly what I look for most of the time as well.
Yeah, if I can make $500 on the property, man, I'm good.
Yeah. So I was doing pretty good. So I wasn't too, kind of hurt on the deal falling through, but whatever.
Okay.
Held that until earlier on this year, where I had an investor end up buying the property sight unseen, because
Okay.
I guess he recognized it from a magazine. I was lucky enough to have it featured in the as a couple of photos, anyways, in the Canadian Real Estate Wealth magazine up here.
Oh, wow, it's impressive.
So, yeah, thanks. And you know what? It's when you do good work, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I've found that people take notice. So, but anyways, I was fortunate that they put it in the magazine. I believe this gentleman saw it and recognized it when I put it up for sale, and bought it sight unseen for $1.1 million. So,
how long did it take to close a $1 million deal?
oh well, that you know what? See things. The financing game up here works a little bit differently. Where in the States, I think approvals can take upwards of a month, 2 months, whatnot. We can have an approval in about 7 days with the larger institutions. Private money is a different story. I could have an approval in 24 hours.
Yes,
Right?
of course.
So, but as far as getting deals closed and whatnot, we set the closing date, and up here everything is done through lawyers.
Okay.
Right? We don't have title companies or anything like that. Typically, when the real estate agents go back and forth, we got the agreement of purchase and sale. Copy goes to each party's lawyers, and then conditions are fulfilled, just like they are down in the States.
Okay.
And once all the conditions are fulfilled, there's a closing date, but we set the closing date. Right? It's not something that is really dictated by lenders or anything like that, like I've kind of found down in the States.
Yeah.
But typically, closing date is between 30 and 90 days out from the date that the agreement of purchase and sale is signed.
Okay.
So with that particular deal, he wanted it done quickly, so I think it closed in about a month. So it was pretty good.
That's pretty good, man. That is pretty. That's impressive. I cannot. It's pretty impressive. Close $1 million deal in a month. That is big business. So my question now is about how has the U.S. real estate market, with the changing parts, with rates going through the roof, with the feds, and just we're shifting out of I think everyone is in agreement that we're shifting out of a seller's market, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to get your take and kind of where you see this market going, and kind of where your strategy and how your strategy is shifting in regards to the U.S. real estate market.
Right now, I mean, like I said, I'm predominantly focusing on the Midwest. With my purchases, because this is a brand new kind of endeavor for me, moving my purchasing down into the States.
Okay.
I take the approach of aim small, miss small, right?
Okay.
And I tiptoe in, and then when things start moving a little bit more freely as far as the market is concerned and start to improve, then I'll go a little bit faster. Or once I've seen that, hopefully things are settling out.
Okay.
and hit the rock bottom kind of deal, or
Yes.
as close to it as possible.
Okay.
I'm always buying. I'm always looking for the next deal, but it's always in relation to what's happening, right?
Got it.
And at this point, I don't think that the American economy has really realized that there's a recession.
I
So,
agree.
right. So, I mean, it's kind of like things are slowing down. People are still working. They haven't lost their jobs yet or whatnot, but people are slowing down their purchases.
Mhm.
So we'll see what comes about in the Midwest. As far as prices for houses that I'm looking at, really, it hasn't really slowed down. I mean,
No, not at all. I'm in that same market, so no, no, it definitely hasn't.
you know,
Well, but let me ask you this, because someone may say, well, if he's in Canada, how does his how is he able to keep a pulse or a finger on that particular market? Do you have a particular way that you structured your business? How you don't have to tell me your source of how we're finding the deals, just kind of how you're able to find quality deals. How, like, are you working with a team? Do you have a team? Kind of how that whole structure works, uh, so that foreign nationals like yourself, other people in Canada, Mexico, South America, they can also you you can be a guide or be a blueprint for them to say, hey, if I want to invest in real estate in America, this is a good way to go about it. You mind talking about that?
yeah. So I mean, I don't remember where I heard this, but a really successful individual is where this is coming from. As far as the details, unfortunately, I don't remember them. But he said you can have growth or you can have control, but you can't have both. Okay.
Mm,
So this is the thing, with people, with you having rental properties in your backyard, you always want to go and do the work yourself. You're not treating it as a business, right?
yes.
And that's the thing. I mean, if you're the CEO of a multi-million dollar or multi-billion dollar corporation, you're
Mhm.
not really entertaining the minutia of daily business. You are looking at it from a broad spectrum kind of scenario. And so that's really when I'm looking at this, it's kind of, is the business making money,
Mhm.
right? And as far as I'm trying to get away from, you know are all the lights on, are all the tenants happy, that kind of stuff, that you delegate to a property manager, right? Maintaining the relationship with your tenants, that's not my job. My job is to build the business, right? So that's what I'm trying to kind of separate myself from what I used to do, as far as being the face that the tenants are always looking to, and being more the guy that's building the business,
Mhm.
as opposed to managing each individual property. Or I do have a team on the ground that over the last 2 years, you've kind of found some people had problems with others. You find the right person. It takes some
Absolutely.
time, takes some time, takes some money, sometimes more money than you want.
Yes.
um, but and at the end of the day, it's that you gotta hire slow, fire fast
I got you.
when you're building your team. And I've run into a few situations where property managers didn't work out for whatever reason. You try and find the right person that's going to come in and work with you the way that you need them to work. Right? For me, it's a lot of communication.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm not down there. In the past up here, if there were renovations going on, I would go through, look at what was going on, because I have that experience, doing the work myself.
Mhm.
I can pick out what's happening. In this particular case, for example, I have a property that's being renovated right now in Cleveland,
Mhm.
duplex. I have to rely more on the contractor
Okay.
and property manager that I have down there to make sure that everything is being done in the right way.
Absolutely.
This is not to say that I'm completely hands off at this point. Uh, I'll show up every so often and make sure that everybody knows that there's a certain direction that needs to be
Oh, of course.
right. I don't know. Is that what you were looking for as far
No,
as?
no, no, no. It does. It really kind of gives great detail and at least um, uh, shed some light on how a business is ran uh, from someone that's not in the states that wants to be a successful real estate investor. They can now look and say, well, hey, maybe if I just put these key people around me, right, I can do this business at a high level, and I don't have to be in the states to do it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, look at it this way. Look at it this way. If you have, like, if you're a landlord now that you're within 30 minutes of your property, right?
okay.
Driving distance from your property. Why do you have to go and see it yourself? In this day and age, why do you have to have your physical presence there? For what? Nothing.
No, you're
Right?
right. No, I agree.
You know what I mean? Your property manager can have the phone, with FaceTime, whatever. Um, I've gone as far as hiring people on, like I don't know if you ever heard of TaskRabbit, you know, where you can hire somebody to do a particular task. You post the task that you want. They go there. They execute the way that they want it. Take
Mhm.
pictures, whatever. I've paid somebody $50. Hey, go to this open house and you know take pictures of everything that you can possibly see there. Take videos, blah blah blah, and you make your choice that way. No property, for example, is purchased without a professional inspection being done, right? Because
No, of
at,
course.
with that inspection, you get that report, and it's going to show, hey, is there water,
Exactly.
is there damage, blah blah blah. So really, at the end of the day, do I need to go there
No,
if I'm not buying it for myself, right? So
exactly.
even if I don't like the layout, I'm not going to live there. So
Exactly.
has somebody bought the house before in the past? Has somebody lived there? Yes. So somebody has liked it. So I don't have to like it. You know
No,
what I mean?
agree. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. That's my
So
reasoning. Not to cut you off. That's my reasoning for buying outside of Texas now. I mean, I don't have to be there. My family won't live in the house. Just doesn't. It doesn't make sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, and frankly, Texas has really kind of gone up in value.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
can you
Absolutely.
still find the deals that you had in the past?
Not no, not at all. Maybe if you're in the rural areas, like where I was born, like in Houston County, you could probably find a good deal there, but it's rural, right? Harris County, Dallas County, Travis County, Bexar County, they're expensive. It just is. It's insane to me. It's just insane. The numbers don't make sense right now. So
And
go
yeah,
ahead.
and it's relative though. You know what I mean?
Oh, of
Like when
course.
you're saying expensive, I feel that that's relative. Like people, I mean, the people watching this, um, like for example, the prices that I was buying a good fixer upper up here
Hmm.
3 4 years ago. I
Yeah.
mean, you could buy a fixer upper for like 4 or 500,000. In the Midwest, people are, maybe down in Houston, you're like, oh my God, that's
That's a
expensive.
little pricey.
Even now, that same bungalow that I would have bought, it's like maybe 1,200 square feet,
Uh-huh.
or no, 12, maybe about 1,400 square feet. Now, fixer upper,
Okay.
we're like 600,000, 700,000. You know what I mean?
That is
Minimum.
that's a different. That is a different.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when I look at the Midwest, and you like, I mean, the first house that I bought in Cleveland. Now, keep in mind, this was an off-market deal. It needs a lot of work, and so it's not the average house down there. But I bought a duplex for $35,000.
Yeah.
Like, it needs $60,000, $70,000 worth of work to put into it. But I mean, in general, around there, you're looking at stuff at $80,000. I don't even remember that price tag up here. You know what I mean?
I'm probably not old enough to remember a house for $50,000 in Harris County. I'm just not probably not even old enough.
Right?
That's how far gone we've become.
But my grandparents, when they came to Canada and they bought their first house here, they bought it for $13,000.
Wow.
Well, I was looking at a house in the Midwest there,
Mhm.
Toledo, that was 15,000.
Wow.
I mean, it's big fix, but a lot of work.
Of course.
But still, I mean, like, the plot of land, you know what I mean? I think I've been ruined.
I think we all have. No, I think we all have. But with real estate, I like you, I got to see outside of my normal market, right? My home
Yeah.
market. And when I started seeing that, hey, I don't have to play in my own backyard. Deals make sense outside of where I live. And so that's kind of what happened with our business model on this end, right? So I understand because I mean, I was thinking, yeah, man, you got to buy in Houston, you got to buy in Texas. I started seeing all these other properties in all these other cities, and I'm like, yeah, I don't. Nah. As long as United Airlines can get me there, or whatever airline can get me there, I'm okay. I'm all right.
Worst case scenario, but really, at the end of the day, I mean, I've even when I was, the face that my tenants would talk to,
Uh-huh.
like, listen, you don't need my number. Email me. You know what I mean?
Bingo.
Because even if there's a flood, I can't do anything about it. It's already happened. You
That's
know what I
it.
mean? If the house is burned down, call the fire department.
Don't call me.
Send me an email. I'm not coming to put it out. You know
That's
what I mean?
it. No. That's the truth. That's the reality of what
Yeah.
it is.
So, you know what I mean? You got your team in place. You build that. That's the little pieces of the business is really the more important part, right?
Absolutely.
And after the fact, it's been a learning process. Don't get me wrong. I mean, for Canadians setting up the different corporations, it's different than Americans. For Americans, the first thing you hear, you got to set up an LLC.
Yeah.
Right? For us, that does not make sense, right? We'll get double taxed because our you guys have the IRS, we have CRA. CRA does not recognize an LLC, right?
Oh, wow.
So we have to set up things a little bit differently so that it's in line with the tax treaty between Canada and the United States.
Okay.
And so we don't get double taxed. Specifically, in my particular case, there's a family trust, and then there's a C corp. So you buy everything through the C corp, and then shift it over to the family trust once you've got the property in hand.
Okay. No worries.
Sorry, it's one of those sneezes that creeps up on you. It doesn't want to come out.
I got you.
Anyway, so yeah, that's where I'm at this point with my portfolio. It's like I said, I hit the reset button, buying stuff down in Toledo, Cleveland, looking at the Indiana market as well. It's more for the price point. Lending in the United States for self-employed individuals, for just simply for investment purposes, is a lot nicer as far as the private money side.
Okay.
And so when you and I were discussing what was happening, there's a lot more ability as far as what can take place before and after. You know what I mean? So even if, for example, the last deal that you and I did,
Yeah.
has to stay on the private side for a little bit longer because I'm not able to get my ITIN number right away, or it takes a little bit longer. Before we put the video on, DeGarian and I were discussing how I'm still waiting for my ITIN number,
Mhm.
and to be able to go and get mortgages from banks like Chase and things of that nature. So once, but with the rent that is capable down there, it'll still cash flow,
Absolutely.
which is fantastic. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
In Canada, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So it's just getting a mortgage that makes sense right off the bat is key. You
Gotcha.
know, so it allows, and the rules in the States allow you to continuously grow your portfolio as long as the numbers make sense,
Got it.
right? I think it's DSCR.
Yes. So that was going to bring one of my last points. I wanted you to kind of go about how hard money. So you're walking right into it, which is awesome. Just kind of how hard money has helped your business and why it's helped your business. But yes, it's DSCR.
Oh, I mean, it's facilitated it, right? I mean, sure, I've had some really nice deals, and a large amount of equity, to be able to enter the market. But
Mhm.
frankly, even if you had a couple of $1,000 and you find that right property, the having access to private money, it was key to continuously go down that route, and continue to purchase, which it's with real estate, it's time in, right? Not timing, but time in,
Yeah.
right? So being able to have access to private money and be able to get the asset on the books, get the rent going, and have it take care of itself and be able to move to the next property is key. It's allowing me to continuously and quickly increase my portfolio, right? Um, and then what I've found is that in the United States, you guys have a lot more opportunity in how the contracts can be structured. The creativity that you can do in making the deal, subject to deals, owner financing. I don't know if it's just the sheer number of the population difference between us.
Mhm.
Um, Up here we call owner financing vendor takebacks, right? Um, it's a little bit different terminology. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still owner financing. We still interchangeably use it, but you hear more vendor takeback than owner financing.
Okay.
Um, Typically, that is reserved for the commercial side,
Okay.
right? You don't really see that nowadays, anyways. More back in the early '90s, early '80s. Sorry, late '80s, early '90s. You would see a little bit more of those types of deals happening, because the market wasn't moving along as quickly as it is now. But you know in the United States, I'm finding that those are so much more prevalent. A subject to deal, is amazing for my people like myself who I don't have a credit score just yet in the United States. I
Okay.
may not have the ITIN number, but it still is going to allow me to get that asset, and hopefully at a decent rate of return, or sorry, rate of interest. Right? I mean, given that your mortgages are different than ours in the fact that, like, we have 5-year terms, right? It might be amortized over 30, 40 years, but the mortgage will go 3 years maybe the average is 5 years, right?
Mhm.
So you'll get to the end of your term, and then you'll have to go and renegotiate with the bank or whatever it may be. In the States, if you got a 30-year mortgage in place for 2 point whatever it may be,
Mhm.
you could just, if you never refinance that mortgage, you could have that rate for your entire mortgage, right?
Yeah,
The whole 30 years. We don't
absolutely.
have that, right? We don't have that. So it's opened up a lot of doors.
Mhm.
There's a lot of opportunity as far as where population base, things like Section 8. We don't have Section 8
Okay.
or something like it, where the rent is guaranteed by the government. That doesn't exist here, right? So it just that alone,
It's tough,
oh, it's
especially in the Midwest market, because Section 8 is a big cash flowing deal in that
absolutely,
market.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but the opportunity that I see from as far as an investor coming into the United States is to bring the standard of rental that we have up here, because of all of um, the red tape that we have to go through to legalize an apartment, for example,
Okay.
uh, and even the level that people are expecting. Because I mean, up here, there's the trend that the younger folks coming up are not going to be able to buy a house, right? I mean, the
Hmm.
average house now, like I said before, in the area that I live in, I don't live in a extraordinarily expensive. I mean, it's expensive now, but I live in an average neighborhood, right?
Okay.
In middle class, you know, um, I think my house is maybe 1,700 square feet. It's not a huge house,
Mhm.
and right now it would probably sell for $1.2 million. That's
That's
the
that,
average.
that's definitely not middle class.
What I mean? But that's here. That's
True.
here.
That is true. That
You
is
know what I
true.
mean? A really high level house.
Mhm.
I mean, kind of like the start of the luxury market. You're probably pushing the $2 million mark here.
Okay.
You know what
Okay.
I
Got
mean?
it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
I think I saw a house in Houston, or in Texas, anyways, for 750,000. That was like 4,000 square feet. It was beautiful. I'm like, holy moly, that would be like a $3 million house up here. You know, so it's I guess what I'm getting at is it's relative to where you're at.
That makes sense. Well, last thing I want to definitely talk to you about, man. I want to talk about this book, right? Property Profit. Definitely want to talk about what inspired you to write it. Like, let's talk about just what really I want to know what inspired you to write it. Kind of, where can we find it? So, I want first off, tell me about what inspired you to write. Where do we get this idea from? Where did this come from?
It was an itch that I've always wanted to scratch. It's always been in the back of my mind to write a book, and you know, given my passion for real estate, I love talking about real estate. I mean, if we ever had a beer or whatnot, like that's the I think I bore people with the amount of real estate talk
No,
that
I
I
feel the
talk
same way.
about.
I feel the same way. Don't feel bad. I
Yeah.
feel
So with that, it's like, okay, let's put some of this info down in a book and put it out there. And I took about a year to write and
mhm,
really kind of distill what I wanted to say into the book.
okay.
Um, you know, and a lot of I got to give a lot of credit to the publisher that I had, who they publisher and the editor that they teamed me up with really kind of helped me drill down on what I wanted to say. And um, I think we rewrote that thing maybe 7 times. And it's let's put it this way: when you write your first manuscript and
Mhm.
you get that back and it's full of, like, it looks like a bloodbath, you gotta kind of step back and kind of, okay, check the ego and go
Absolutely.
back at it. Maybe wipe a couple of tears off. It was like, okay, maybe we'll do it again.
I can
But
imagine.
but no, it was a labor of love. Something I wanted to put out there and put my mark out there. Like my background professionally is as a financial planner,
Okay.
and so teaching people how to create wealth, over their lifetime, and so that it kind of changes their lives. Um, I think you know buying mutual funds and all the stuff that those big institutions want you to do. You know, sure, it has its place. Everything, it's a tool in the belt, but really, if you're going to build wealth, you got to look at real estate. I mean,
Oh, of course.
what is it, like 90% of the world's multimillionaires built their wealth in real estate.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so I wanted to put out a book that gave people a few strategies, that they could look at, that was kind of transferable for whatever market you're in, right? Kind of high level, and give people who might even be sitting on the fence, kind of like humming and hawing. Should I buy my first rental property? Should I not buy it? What's it going to take? What are the problems that might happen? That kind of stuff, and kind of nudge them forward. You know what I mean? Because once, in my particular case, once I bought that first, I knew that rental property was going to be part of my future at that before I bought it. But it's not until you actually buy it and get your hands dirty and get moving that you really understand what it's going to be like, right? And I kind of tell people it's like having kids. You
Yes.
don't know what it's like to have kids until you have a child.
That's true.
An aunt or uncle, but it's nothing until you have your own.
Absolutely.
Then you'll understand.
No, of course, absolutely. I can definitely understand that.
So, I wanted a guide, an encouragement, something that was going to help people move to the next step. And I think I accomplished it with this. I think there's 6 different strategies that are in there, 5 or 6, I believe.
Okay.
The average, it's you'll hear a lot about it, as far as the different gurus that are out there, but this is high level. Looking at what the big pieces to start investing in real estate. And I think once somebody has read that book, Property Profits, that they'll have enough fire in their belly to go and make that first leap. Right? And that's the key, is that first step.
Got it. And this is on Kindle as well, right? You got an audiobook?
It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon on Kindle. You can find it, I believe, on Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
If people are listening from Canada, it is on the Indigo website, Chapters website, but Barnes and Noble, you should be able to find it online there. Amazon for sure.
Okay.
If you are looking for it, putting it, in search, it should be Property Profits and then my name, and it'll come right up. If you just put Property Profits, there's a ton of books, that are real estate based that will come up, and it'll be tough for you to find. So if you put Property Profits and then Carlos Rodrigues, it'll come right up.
Also, everyone, what I'm going to do is put a link to the book in the description so you can go straight to it. And I appreciate you taking the time with us and talking with us today. We added a lot of value. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we close? Is there any social media? Well, if you got social media, that's also going to be in the descriptions. How do you want people to contact you? I know you're a financial planner as well.
Well, actually, not anymore. Actually, when I sold my portfolio up here, I sold my practice as well. So now, I mean, if people want to talk to me about real estate, reach out. But planning is a different thing. So I do have an Instagram. It's at Magellan WM. You can find me there. If you want to, there's a couple of links in the book that if you go on there, there's a few tidbits that you can definitely end up reaching me through. And then my email address is info@magellanwm.com. And yeah, other than that, I appreciate you having me on. As far as, what's the next step for people, just do it. Just get that first one. Once you get the first one, even if it doesn't work properly, you'll learn something for the next one. But keep going.
Absolutely. No, absolutely, man. My philosophy is you will never hit a home run if you don't swing. That is my philosophy, man. That's how I approach everything. But Carlos, man, I appreciate you so much for coming on the channel and educating the good folks today. Hey, until next time, everyone. See you soon.
Thanks, Fred.